Good
No.
afternoon, Dyzee. How are you doing? It's been a while. It's really a pleasure to have you in the podcast, and I'm honored to have this conversation with you. And how are you? How you been doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm still here in Taiwan I'm here for like almost 5, 6 years already after living in Korea for almost 10 years. So yeah, life is good out here. It's very good. We're all older. We have families. We still are, wanting to be part of the scene, but it's a new stage in our lives, right? So
Yes,
it's
absolutely,
awesome.
absolutely. It is. Life is it's getting busy, but we have to do what we have to do. Definitely.
Hmm.
For the audience that maybe still new to the culture, or the youngster, or people maybe from the Middle East, or not really connected well, tell us your story, like in a brief. How did it all started? What's inspired you? And I think most importantly, because of that goal, what made you make this shift to entrepreneurship and trying to go into business as well, and using your passion to become your
Hmm.
business?
Hmm. Well, yeah, just it's kind of funny because recently I was looking at this old blog that someone wrote on me, this guy, Jason Poo on Medium, right? And I think he had a really cool intro for me. He said that what he said about me was that, I've made a name in kind of in all aspects of breaking on all the different ones. So not just like, like my style or the moves I created, but also like battling in competitions, of course, not just that, but also like sharing knowledge, or and what did he say? He said like organizing events, like the business side of breaking, just like I'm also the first to make a breaking shoe, right? Like, so like, so
Yeah.
I'm kind of that guy that just did everything in breaking. I tried everything. I really, and this goes back to, how I started and got and transitioned into an entrepreneur is, you know, if people know where I came from, I started in Toronto, Canada, but I lived in a single parent household, grew up with just my mother, you know, and she had to raise me by herself, right? And so we weren't well, I wouldn't say we were like super poor, but we weren't like rich either, and so I was kind of like when I got, just like most kids who grow up in a single parent household, a lot of times when they get into high school, they're more likely to join, a bad group of people, right? Like it's just like, so that's why a lot of b-boys, we share a similar story because a lot of us come from there, like from the streets. And so I kind of got into the wrong crowd, right, when I was young, and I got into a lot of trouble, right? And of course my mother was brokenhearted with all the trouble I was getting into. And then but when I saw breaking, had everything that I felt like I needed. Like it helped me to, like, well, number one, I wanted to like get attention from girls, right? Like I didn't know how to do that, right? Like, I never had a dad to show me how to be a man around woman, and then also I wanted to hurt people's feelings, right? Because I was kind of like I was going through a lot of stuff, from getting bullied when I was young and everything to like, lashing out at people, like, when your trauma's coming out, right? Like, and so breaking helped me to deal with those things. I wanted to hurt people's feelings. I wanted to bust people's egos. I wanted them to feel the same pain that I was feeling, right? And little did I know that all the time that I was putting into breaking, it was kind of keeping me out of trouble, right? Like, and then I never knew that it was going to take me all around the world, right? Like I was like when I first started breaking, in my world in Toronto in the 90s, breaking was just a gang thing, you know? And so it became my full-time career, all of a sudden, fast forward to 2000, I'm winning all these competitions, I'm traveling around the world, and then I want to be a full-time b-boy, right? But now, 2003, 2004, now I have like a girlfriend, you know what I mean? Now I'm like growing up. I have to like, my mother's like, okay, now you need to get out of the house. And then I realize there's financial, like problems, right? I'm going
Yeah.
through these financial problems. I'm like, and I did everything that you can think of in breaking just to try to make money. I did the street shows.
Yeah.
I taught workshops, I taught classes, I taught in the different studios. I did the commercial work. I was judging competitions. I was battling. I did everything. I was the first person in Toronto to ever open up like a like they get the government to open up a program where there's like open breaking sessions, like for like 3 hours, and then I would be the person supervising, and I would be paid to do that. And so this is now how Canada is. Like all the practice spots are all over, and it's by the government, right? They kind of give a practice spot, and then these practice spots become popular or famous, and people always go there, right? And so a lot of people don't even know that I'm the one that actually made that happen, right? That I started that, and
Easy.
and then I started organizing events in Canada, right? Because my mother had a banquet hall, and was struggling so bad because we didn't know anything about business, right? And so she's like, I need your help. You need to do something, right? Or we're going to be like out of a house. We're going to be homeless, right? So I was like, okay, you know, the only thing I knew was breaking, right? This is 1999, actually, right? So I organized the competition, not ever seeing a competition in my life. Like I never been to a competition. Breaking was just in the clubs, in the parties, you know, like it was never like, there was no such thing as a competition. Actually, I went to one competition before that, and I won. I don't know how it was judged. I don't know what happened. All I know is that we won, right? That's all I know, right? And so I ended up organizing all the competitions in Toronto, in Canada, like the first one, like, you know, that's where the idea of a judging system first started, right? And I was organizing it every month, right? And so I wanted it to be fair, right? Because I knew that if it wasn't fair, people won't come back, right? They're not going to want to enter if they don't think it's fair. So I did everything I could to make it fair for everybody, right? And I'm saying all these things because the crazy thing is that once I had to live on my own. You know, when my grandmother passed away, she left me some money, and my mother said, "You're not spending that money because you're going to spend it in the wrong place. So we're just going to invest it into a condo in the hood, okay? Like it was in the hood, right?" And you know, it was pretty. So it was very, very cheap, right? It was leaking in the ceiling and everything like that. You know, it was you know, it was a very pretty crazy area, and but I couldn't even make rent, like living as a b-boy, right? Like, you know, I'm the number one b-boy in Canada at that time, right? And then I'm doing the most work. I'm judging and traveling around the world. I'm competing. I'm battling. I'm doing the whole b-boy hustle, everything you could think of. And some months it would be pretty okay, you know. I'd be like, yo, I'm a couple of grand up. I'm doing good, right? Like, you know, I got like $3,000 in the bank, you know. But 2 months later, 3 months later, I'm like, where's my next paycheck gonna come from? What am I gonna do? So I'm using my credit card to buy gas, to buy groceries, and I'm just the credit card bill is going up and up and up until I'm like 30 grand in debt. You know, I'm just like struggling so hard, and I was like, it was so stressful. I had an events company. I did all these things, but yet I couldn't make ends meet, right? And I was just like, and I came to this place where I was like, you know what? It's either I'm gonna have to quit breaking, right? Because I can't live like this, or breaking has to change, right? Like there's the only two things, right? And for some reason, I decided, like, I'm gonna figure out why breaking, why we can't make a living off breaking. That was the answer I needed to figure out. Why can't we
That
do
was
what we love to do? That was the question. Why can't b-boys live off breaking? Because I had too many crew members have to quit. They said, okay, I got to make money, and they all disappeared. And every time someone left, whether it was a crew member or whether it was a rival, like an enemy, when that person was like quit, and then I'm like, hey, yo, how come you're not breaking anymore? Oh man, I have to get into. I have kids now. I got a kid. I have to do this. I need to find a job. My parents are sick. Like things like that. It broke my heart. Right. It felt like they in my world they were all like dead, right? They were gone, and like, so I kind of grieved every time a b-boy and b-girl kind of like was gone, right, when they left. Even though I'd see them from time to time, and you can see how much in their eyes that they missed it. And so I was newly married, 2009, 30 grand in debt, credit card bills, just like not knowing how I'm going to ever pay that off, just living paycheck to paycheck, gig to gig. And so I was like, hey, me and my wife, we got to get out of Toronto, because actually Toronto, I grew up there, so all the bad influences are there. And I said, we're gonna move to Korea, because she's actually Korean blood, and let's just start over. And Korea was the place. I know you remember, right? In 2004, 2005, 2006, when Korea exploded in the market, we're like, yo, why are these events so big? And then I was going to Korea, and I see the Korean b-boys driving nice cars. They all have their own studios. And then I saw how many fans they had. Like, they had fans that come in with their signs and screaming when they're battling. And I was like, what the heck? So that's why in 2009 I moved to Korea, because I wanted to figure out, why can't we live from breaking? And I just felt like it was like God was telling me, look, you're married to Korea and you can get a visa to go there, right? Like, just go. So I went there, and that's where a whole new
Nice.
perspective of my life changed. Yeah, that's how I got into the entrepreneur world, right? Or the
Amazing.
business side of breaking. Yeah.
I mean, your story is really inspiring, and this is all what it takes. It's just you need to get into. You need to struggle. To find a ways. You need to hustle to find
Yeah.
a way. I think I've been watching you, of course, from the beginning, like, and this is what's really really inspiring about you, and I hope a lot of people also can feel the same way. You have one of the best, of course, in breaking, because not only you did compete and win a lot of titles, you kind of created your own style, your own flavor, and also that been inspiring the whole culture for years and years. But not only that, you felt more and you wanted to do more, and of course, because what you experienced, you wanted to kind of combine the same, because you didn't want to lose one of them, which also I think a lot of our friends or old b-boys or biggers kind of also went to life and with a struggle and kind of left because they couldn't make that connection. And I feel that's
Mhm.
what's really missing in the culture, that a lot of people maybe doesn't know the ways, they doesn't know how to become an entrepreneur and use your passion to become.
Mhm.
And of course, there are also a lot of stories, and a lot of people are doing that right now, but it's not enough.
Mhm.
And I think I want to get to learn from you these thoughts, these ways. What did you do, and
Mhm.
how did it come? And I'm really happy to hear that a struggle moves you from realizing, okay, now I have this, I can go to Korea, I have my breaking. Okay, how can I use
Mhm.
all of that and make actually income out of it and become
Mhm.
not only my passion, but for example, if for the football players, they love football, they play football, they get money. And of
Yeah.
course, can't compare
Mhm.
two different worlds, but it is also possible to use breaking and use a passion to make an income. And that's the reason why I want to have this talk with you. And I want to move a little bit into Daisy. I'm going to come to the threads, Daisy threads, very shortly. But before that, how is it
Mhm.
actually? Because now you're in Taiwan, right? How's the
Yeah.
entrepreneur vibes live there? Is it
Okay. So I just want to say, like, even though I'm in this new world of entrepreneurship, I in no way consider myself still a kind of like a newbie in entrepreneur world, because it's just kind of like breaking. Like, a lot of guys get into breaking, and you may say, oh, they're really good and they're dope, they're very talented, but in reality, they're just beginners in breaking. Like, not beginners, but there's still a whole world
yes?
ahead of them, right? I have a whole world of in the entrepreneurship world ahead of me, right? That I'm like going, whoa, it's bigger than I thought, right? So I don't want to say that I'm like I know I got everything set, but I can tell you where I'm at, right? Like, where we're at, right? So when I came to Taiwan, the reason why I came in was because, after R16 stopped, right? The R16, if people who don't know, it was the biggest world championships, I think, in the world, right? The most prestigious. It
Absolutely.
was held every year in Korea, and I was the global producer, and I was organizing all the national championships all around the world. So I knew everything about organizing, and like, I really learned that world. Like, one of the things that I learned living in Korea was that the question was, why can't b-boys make a living off breaking? Is there money in breaking? And I found out there is millions of dollars in breaking. There's a lot of money in breaking, just not for the b-boys, right? Just not for the breakers.
True.
Everyone else is getting paid. Everyone else is passing money around. I saw millions of dollars moving around, and I was like, this is not fair, right? Like, I'm not trying to say that in a way that I'm trying to, like, we're being exploited, but in a way, it wasn't fair, right? And
Yeah.
so while I was traveling around with R16, I really met with the different b-boys and b-girls all around the world, and I got to see what everyone was doing to make a living, right? Like, I just really was very genuinely interested. Oh, you have a studio. Oh, you are just coaching. Oh, you're doing street shows. Oh, you're doing this or you're doing that. You're working with the government. You're doing this, and I saw so many different ways, right? And after R16 ended, I was really lost. That I was praying, like, what am I gonna do, right? Like I felt like a whole world closed on me, because once we lost R16, all the people that I was working with that I thought, would continue working with me were like, well, you don't have R16, so you're out, right? Like, it's kind of like that, right? And I was
Yeah.
like, right? And I was like, whoa, okay, right? But I think that was a good thing that to happen to me, because once that happened, I was praying, what's the next step? And I realized, and I had this dream, okay? And the dream was, I walked into, and it was kind of funny because my friend and my crew had a studio, but he moved out of that studio to another studio. So I jumped and I walked into his old breaking studio, which was in a warehouse, kind of a small warehouse. And we were building these rafters and we were building these mezzanines. And we're like, okay, and I was kind of telling people, okay, this is where the battles will take place. This is where they'll practice. And it just kind of like, it took all the things the different ways that people hustle to make a living. And it was a place where everyone can work together and share that space, share this one space. Everybody can, so you can teach classes, you can throw events, you can have a practice spot, everything is all in this one place, right? Like, it's like and because everyone's doing everyone has a hustle, right? It's not, instead of a hustle, they're all working together, but they all have a different job, right? And so it's a way that a crew can stay together. And I was like, why didn't I think of this before? Right? Like, if we work together, we can get farther. We don't have to just hustle alone, but we work together and we build together and our crew can stay together. And right, I was away from Canada for so long, and I felt like my crew that raised me, Supernaturals, like it was like almost too late. And I was like, broke my heart, right? Because it's like, because obviously you want your crew to stay together forever. You grew up like brothers, and like, I'm not sure about these days, like crew culture is almost dead, because of, the hyper focus on 1 versus 1, right? With Red Bull and then the Olympics. And
Yes.
then the crew culture just being decimated by this, right? I don't blame anyone. I don't think anyone did it on purpose, but it is what it is, what happened, right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think what you've been saying about the example of coming together and realizing that, together we can actually, make it better and make this culture take the next step. I think definitely that's why we're not really able to make a living for everyone. Of course, there's a lot of people making a living right now, and as you said, it's becoming more on an individual basis now. It's not more into a group or a cruise or whatever. And the Olympics were a great example. Like, I think, of course, it's amazing success for breaking to be featured and it's coming from
Absolutely.
streets and all. Absolutely. But for me, it was like, breaking grow so much all these years to become one of the most strongest platforms that people actually are looking at or watching, and then just so easily another organizations took everything to organize it for us. Like, this week, what?
I knew that was gonna. I knew that was gonna happen. I called it. I actually called it that would happen. Like So I don't know if everyone will remember. Oh, it's still going on. Undisputed, right?
Yeah, that's of course. Yeah.
So Undisputed, right? So when Undisputed first came together because of R16, Battle of the Year, UK Champ. So I was there in the very beginning, right? Actually, I'm the one that initiated this. I mean, they tried it before, but it never happened. And then in 2012, I actively went out and asked each person to have a meeting after BC won 2012 in Brazil, and we all sat together and we started discussing, and then we started having meetings, and which Red Bull paid for us to have more meetings. And I had this plan. I had a totally different plan of how we can work together to make like a circuit. But in the end, what was decided was that we're going to make just another event, like the Undisputed 1 versus 1, which is basically the same format as Red Bull. And Red Bull was pissed. They were like, "Why are we going to make another event? We don't want to make another event. We want to work together, right? Like, like with our events, not make another event, right?" And then I was telling everyone, look, why make another event, right? Like, another company with more money, with more power, more prestige, right? Can one day come in and then just organize a 1 versus 1 and copy the exact same thing that we do, and then they're gonna own breaking, right? And they're like, no, we're the real ones, and we're gonna tell everyone that we're. I'm like, it doesn't matter, right? Like we have to do it in a way that's gonna be that they can't easily duplicate, right? Like, it's not gonna be easy, right? And so the only thing that they can't easily duplicate is our actual events, right? Like, like they can't make another R16, but they can copy a format.
Yeah.
And so lo and behold, right, WDSF, came in and just basically did the same one-on-one thing, and they did it on the Olympic level, which is, you know, very, very internationally renowned and prestigious, right? So
Absolutely,
they didn't have
absolutely.
they didn't have to do much, and I mean,
And
they did a lot. They did a lot, but
congratulations, they
that's it
did.
is what it is.
Like literally, if you look at, and I don't know it by heart, but if you look at numbers, the breaking did really a lot of money in Olympics,
Yes,
but not
yeah,
for the
that's it.
b-boy. It was
No.
all for like the sponsors, the media,
Hmm.
all of that, which it felt for me it was a big missed opportunities for the culture, for the people who actually built that culture, because
Hmm.
of course some of the pioneers, some of people were involved in judging and a lot of things, of course, and setting up the judging system and all of this, absolutely. But that was still like the smallest part you
Hmm.
know to take care of,
Yeah,
like still.
yeah.
And this is definitely why I feel you're absolutely right when it comes to coming together as a culture and helping each
Hmm.
other, and really taking over what we built been building for years and years.
Yeah.
Because believe it or not, it would have never been considered to be part of Olympics if it was not financially profitable for them. Absolutely,
Hmm.
because
Of course.
they saw I think the past, before the Olympics, the past maybe 5 years, the amount of broadcasting breaking event with viewers is becoming insanely one of the biggest platform to watch something. And it's all about that, it's all about viewers, it's all about bringing attention. And I feel, and again, this is my own opinion. Nobody should think that as it's something that people follow, but I feel like the last 5 years before the breaking in the Olympics, nobody was watching Olympics anymore. Like, yeah,
Hmm.
people would watch it a little bit, go to the events if it's happening in the country, but nobody was really watching. Oh, let's watch all that. And I think
Yeah,
this was a really something attractive for the Olympic to, yeah, definitely. But of course, there's
absolutely.
so many other reasons, of course, with the sport and all that, but still,
Mhm.
it was a missed opportunity. And I
Yeah.
want to come back to actually your contribution, and I want to talk
Hmm.
about your company, and of course, Dyzee Threadz Footworks. It's been
Hmm.
amazing. I know, as you mentioned, you're still in the beginning, and of course, it's not really the beginning because you've been doing this for a while, and it's been recognized.
Hmm.
And I love the style, I love the shape, I love, and I feel it's really inspiring what you did, because it's just, I want you to talk more about it, of course, how it all started. But for me, because I know who is Daisy, and how did you start it and breaking, and then combine it to become a breaking
Hmm.
shoe, and then a lifestyle
Hmm.
shoe. It's just
Okay.
inspiring. Go
Yeah.
ahead, man.
Well, the first part that I wanted to finish up on was the whole breaking club thing that we started, right? With so I started vlogging about the plan, about the way that crews can stay together. And then that's how Dream Runners crew, who I was coaching, and I coached them, and they became the top crew in Taiwan. Um, we started talking a lot, and they were asking me what would it take to bring this idea to Taiwan, right? And so, we after reaching some deal, I moved to Taiwan. With just the idea was just 1 year, and we started building the breaking club and building the marketing and just really getting everyone to work together. And in the end now, the Dream Runners crew, I'm just a part owner, so I have to give them all the credit. I know that I gave them the skeleton, the ideas, and but they're really the ones who put the meat and bones and everything onto this and gave it really, like, gave it the legs. They did the hard work, the hard grinding. And now we have actually 5 breaking clubs, right? Like, 4 breaking clubs in Taiwan, one in China, right? And 2 of our breaking clubs have 600 members, right?
Well,
Over 600 members. The other one has 200, another one has 100, and one has 90, which is the newest one, right? Has
amazing.
90. And yeah, and so it's just like it's a totally different model, than the studio model. It's not just selling classes. It's like it's kind of modeled after a kind of like a football club. You know what I mean, right? Where or like a niche club, right? Like where where it's all about memberships. getting as many people in there. And once they join, they become a member, then utilizing your space and your resources to serve the members. What do they need? Do they need classes? They want battles? They want workshops? What do
Mm,
they need? They just need a place to hang out, to train, and then being able to provide that for them. Right. And it's been like a really great model. And
amazing.
so I don't have to do much. I just come in to like help and consult in different ways. But it's like it's a totally different world for b-boys thinking to be like you're to have ownership in businesses and things like this, right? Like and every year we have a company or a crew anniversary, which is actually the year-end company party, where they give like they share the dividends, right? And so everyone's getting these envelopes of like, according to their percentages, and it's like growing every year, and it's just like a
Amazing.
totally different thing that blows my mind, right? Like I never thought of that. I wasn't a business guy. I was like the farthest from the business guy that you can think of, but I transitioned into the entrepreneur world, and that's why I believe that b-boys and b-girls, we would make good entrepreneurs. You know what I mean? Like if we, start getting
Absolutely.
into it. Yeah.
Absolutely right. And I think being a b-boy or bigger, it already teach you lots of skills, It already
Mhm.
automatically you have to learn a lot of
Yeah.
skills. Also, having a difficult move that you want to learn, you find ways. So it's if you reflect the
Problem
same
solving,
problem solving,
creativity. Yeah.
absolutely be creative,
Discipline.
discipline, trying to
Yeah.
be your own flavor, so being unique, it's so execution.
Steadfastness. Yeah. Yeah.
You finish the move.
Everything. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So if you
Yep.
take the element
Exactly.
we've been always talking about and breaking and judging and put it into the business world, it's actually what you
Hmm.
need to be successful, as an entrepreneur. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
That's what
so
we need. We need more entrepreneurs. And so this is the reason why, like, living in Taiwan, I also met somebody who offered me, who offered to start a shoe company and said, does breaking ever have shoes? And I thought, so this is the thing about me, right? Like I always go in breaking where I find that there's a need, there's something that's missing, and I try to like kind of go that direction and kind of spread awareness for whatever that is, and then if it starts taking off on its own, then I can move on to something else. I can keep moving on to other things. Like I feel like that's how I've always been, right? So, like, for example, with the judging system, right now, judging systems are all over the place. But when I first tried to, if you remember, when I first tried to push a professional judging system, people were like, I had a
yeah.
lot of work to do.
Oh my
People were like, "Why are you doing this? It's not like we're ever going to go to the Olympics." you know?
God, so true. And I do remember, I don't want, with respect to, of course, everyone, but I feel that you're the very first one actually pushing for that, because I don't remember who else did it, but maybe I'm
Yeah,
wrong.
yeah, back then.
Definitely,
Yeah, no, back then. No, there was a few people who were talking about it, of course, and they kind of did it in an event or two. But I was like, but I mean, like, I guess I would say that I'm the first one to actually execute one, like in a global
yes,
scale, right? Like, around the world, certified judges, criteria, scoreboard, all those things, right? Like, and we're the first ones to actually do that, right? Which
absolutely.
which I'm glad that it's going on now. I think that it can still be better, but we're bringing it back anyways, so it's good.
It's good to hear. Good to hear. Really, really
Yeah,
inspiring. I'm happy that
yeah,
we can find a
and
platform where we can actually talk together and
yeah.
give these
Mhm.
examples. I'm sure there's a lot of people have, like we said before, have the knowledge, probably have the skills, have the
Mhm.
resources, but they just want to take this step. And I think sharing
Yeah.
definitely important step for that culture to understand. Okay, there are other people doing it. Are people doing it
Mhm.
and it's working? You just need to take a step and doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so for the shoe company, right? Like, we still have the shoe company business, and now I'm in this place where I'm like, okay, like I already know what it's like to make shoes and then try to sell them online and pre-sell it. But I realize that if I want to make it bigger and I want to scale differently, right? Like I need to include more people, to bring more people in and work together and give ownership to everyone who's involved.
What kind of early struggles that you faced and how did you overcome it actually?
I would say that business is like a lot like breaking, right? Like in breaking, in the beginning we just kind of like do whatever we see and we're just trying to like, make it. But as time goes by in breaking, you learn more things about it, right? Like little things to start understanding the scope of what breaking really is, like in terms of like from the foundation to the art, to looking at it as an art, to looking at it as a culture, to looking at it as a conversation. What is it about? Like all these, the rules, the unwritten rules of breaking, like all these little things. Why are they there in the first place? Why do we need to do judge showcases? Like just all types of like things that are like, and business is exactly like that, right? Like, in business, like you're trying to create like this uh kind of like a living entity, like this way to help people, in some ways. And so you start, so every little thing that you do, you run into a wall, right? Like you always run into walls, and then trying to figure out around that. And you learn so many things, like the business ethics and all those things. Like one of the things, for example, one of the things is like as a b-boy, this is a big difference, right? So in breaking, it's a street culture. So you never let someone take away your confidence, right? If someone burns you, you need you need to get back at them. You need to, like, keep your reputation. You need to, like, you're aggressive, right? Like, like you, but, and so what a lot of b-boys always do is because we approach things this way, we always burn bridges. And I feel like I've been a habitual bridge burner. You know what I mean? Like I've burnt a lot of bridges, right? And it's something that this is not to be proud of, right? Like, and I've just done that. I've never followed up with people. I've never been a good friend, or, like, like in that sense. And I may have not have been a great business partner, because I didn't know what business was. And so looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, man, I did all these things. Why did I do that? Like, why did, like,
Yeah.
and so I think that was the biggest hurdle, right? Because a lot of people who are in business, like, business makes the world go round, right? Like, and and a lot of people who are in business, it's the business is taught to them by their parents, by their father or mother, whoever is doing business. And these things, like, are shared with them. It's not something that's so much that you study in school, right? It's more like, hey, this is how,
Yeah.
it's all about experience. This is what I experienced doing business. This is what happens, like taxes, all these little things. But a
Yeah.
lot of us didn't have fathers around, right, to do that. So we're starting literally from ground zero,
Right.
from
Yes.
from ground zero. And so this is the reason why I've been very vocal about these things, to put it out there, just to kind of like share the things that I've learned, so that other people don't make those same mistakes. Like, like if they can learn from my mistakes, then they're going to be way better off than, because I'm already older now, right? Like, and we're older. How old are you now?
I'm 40.
40. Yeah. So there we go. I'm 45, right? So we're all up there now, right? So
Yeah,
the
definitely.
younger generation, I'm hoping that they will, like, learn from us, from the mistakes that we've made,
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. And I think this is definitely what's missing for the culture to go to the next step is knowledge. It's all about knowledge.
Yes,
We do have this,
exactly.
we do have
Hmm.
the ethics, we do have, the characters, the resources now with internet and the
Yeah,
chat. We have everything. It's just really
yeah,
knowledge of how to do it, which is absolutely an
yeah,
important part of running a business, is to get to know the ups and downs, what is needed, what is actually not needed.
yeah,
And I fully agree on that part. Uh,
yeah.
how were you still able to make a balance between your artistic part of, you still judging, you
Hmm.
still try, you're still doing
Hmm.
lots actually to the culture, and your entrepreneur business part? How are you balancing this?
Oh, well, I've always been a very stubborn kind of person, right? Like, I've always said to myself, like, I could do other things to make money outside, right? But I said, you know what? Like, I made a promise. I promised to God that, okay, I'm just gonna only do this thing for breaking, and once I'm done, then I can do other things, right? Because in my mind, most people will do that. They'll say, you know what? Like, I'm stuck in breaking. I need to go and fix my life outside. That's actually the smarter thing to do, right? That's the smartest thing to do for you and your family, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Stop breaking, is to do other things. But I thought that if I do that, no one else is going to stick around and try to figure things out for breaking, right? Like,
Mm.
like they're not going to try to take the culture to the next level, because the ones who have the most power in breaking are actually not b-boys, right?
Yes.
So they don't really
Yes.
care what happens to the culture. They don't, because they don't even know. They're not even from the culture. They don't know
Correct.
what it's like. They don't know about these things, you know. And so, I'm not saying that I don't blame them for that. They're just not b-boys, right? It's
Yeah,
just
they are
you know,
business.
they're
Absolutely. You
business
don't.
people, right? They're business people. They saw an opportunity to do something big and
Absolutely.
make some money, and they did it. And I can't really blame them for that. And
Of
so, you
course.
know, right? And so, but as a b-boy, the reason why a lot of b-boys can't make a living from doing events and doing things is because we're b-boys. We think like b-boys, right? So we're not doing it for the money. We're doing it for the culture.
For the
And that
passion.
means
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
passion, for the love. We're like, hey, you know what? You know, I can just get, you know, I need to get the right judges because this is important, right? It's important to get the right judges because, you know, we have to make sure that the people that inspired us, that we respect, are the ones that are judging to keep the culture alive, you know, to keep the, you know, what we love about it alive. But a business person is going to say, I just want to get the ones that are my friends and that are gonna, I can pay them less and I'll just work out a deal with them and I'll just get them all the time, right?
You're absolutely right.
That's a business mind. That's smart. That's actually very, very smart. But it's not what how b-boys think. So that's why we need more b-boy entrepreneurs, because we need to be there need to be b-boy entrepreneurs that are in both worlds, right? That are gonna say, okay, I'm a b-boy, right? I want what's best for the culture, but there's the business side that has to make sense. And I need to do the work to find out what is that middle ground. Like, where is the middle ground? A business person won't want to find that middle ground, and only a b-boy that doesn't know business won't be able to get to the middle ground either, right?
You're right.
So
Absolutely.
we need break entrepreneurs, you know, to
Absolutely.
in order to figure that out.
We need more people think of mindset of business, but also coming from the culture. And
Yeah.
I think this bring a question really interesting. Do you think we have enough actually entrepreneur right now are supporting the culture, or everyone is really working by themselves right now?
Well, that's a big thing, is that everyone is working on their own thing. This is what I've learned, right? That a lot of there's a lot more b-boys are now getting into the entrepreneur world. They're opening up their own studios, and everyone's hyper focused into their business, which is actually a very, very good thing.
Of
Everyone
course.
should be doing this, right? But we're gonna get to a point where everyone's gonna be doing rather well, and you know, like, because right now everyone's kind of like new at this game, and so they're all making their businesses, opening their studios, trying to scale, trying to figure things out. But the one thing that's missing is what all other industries have that we don't have, right? That we need to do right now, like a breaking business conference. That is my next big plan that I'm doing, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah,
It's a great idea. And I think this is how we can come together as entrepreneur, as a culture.
exactly.
Like exactly what he said, everyone will do their own thing because they want to care about their
Yeah.
financials, which is absolutely
Mhm.
right. Then
Yep.
we're gonna lose that culture, like we go to that
Yeah.
direction and leave that.
Yeah.
So you're
So so
right. And
so breaking business. Yeah, a breaking business conference. What it's going to do is it's where we can go to share our tips and secrets, right? Because, so for example, if you have a breaking studio in your place, and I have a breaking club, we have 5 breaking clubs in our place, right? And another person has a, you know, B-Boy Focus has his breaking school in Finland, and then you have Massive Monkeys have their one in Seattle. You know, B-Boy Crumbs has his in Atlanta. You know, like, there's so many. B-Boy Physics has his in Shanghai. If we had a breaking business conference, we can all come together and maybe we'll all share a few tips with each other of what we did, you know, like kind of like a small 15-20 minute, you know, like sharing, right? So that we can all learn from each other, because your breaking school and your breaking club or your breaking studio in your city, if it can grow and do really big and become into like a, like you and have tons of fans and members, it doesn't take away from my business, right?
yes, right. You're
I can
right.
build mine. But this is the
Yeah,
problem with breaking from before, because every world one was trying to do a world championship event. So if you make a big world championship event, then that might take away from my world championship event, right? Because we're all competing to make a world championship event. So this was kind of like a model that didn't really wasn't wasn't sustainable, didn't really work, because more people were making events, and then and everyone's kind of competing with each other's events, and then your event comes and it's gone, and it's too much. It's I think it's time that we move past that now into
I
like a
agree.
more
I
of a
agree with
business
you.
work.
I agree with you definitely, and
Hmm.
I'm loving the idea of like a business breaking event where we can definitely share and have like a real examples of people really running a business and still being a part of the community and being part of the culture, because definitely I think this is the next step. And what I see as also uh, a business mind, like it's not only gonna be positive and having a great result for the culture or for the b-boys and the biggers, but it
Hmm.
will attract entrepreneur who have maybe inside them passion for breaking, but they're not really establishing that because they don't really see any opportunities. But I know there's so many people who love breaking, but they are not part of the community. I mean, like there's so many of us b-boys and b-girls working professionally, but also not making a use of their connection or their platform
Exactly.
support the community, support
Exactly.
breaking. And that's definitely something I see in a business breaking event, because all of these
Hmm.
people having a passion, they would attend, they would come and see, oh, what's
Yeah.
up with that, and maybe they will share
Yeah.
knowledge with, like, I love the idea, and I would love to be part of it, definitely.
Yes. Well, I mean, just letting you know that this is another thing that I'm secretly working on, and I'm going to be doing this breaking business conference in Europe, right?
Nice.
Coming up in October, right? So this will be the first one. We've never had something, so I'm not really sure how it's going to go. But like I said, this is
Where are
part of
you
my.
going?
It's going to be in October, right? I'm gonna put some information out about this pretty soon, right? But I'm working behind the scenes on multiple things, and like I'm
Let's
just
connect.
keep
I'm
on, like
here.
I'm not stopping, I'm not quitting, you know what I mean? Like
I
everything
would.
from our system. This time I'm focusing on breaking studios and clubs, because I feel
No.
like I really believe that breaking clubs is the future for our culture, especially since crew culture is dead. Like there's no more crew cultures, and like a lot of crews and people that want to stick together or come back, like like old crews, now that they have some funding and some money, right? And there's, they can actually come back and start their own crew club, but they have to kind of change into a club, right? Where it's not just a crew anymore. So, for example, if I was to open up a Supernaturals breaking club in Toronto, or Scarborough, where we're from, or imagine opening up a Seven Commandos breaking club in uh in Seoul City or something, or whatever, right? Like that's
Yeah.
kind of like the idea where you can where but the club but we have to change from just a closed crew to more of a club that anybody can kind of join, and then in our clubs we can coach, teach, do all these types of different types of businesses, but slowly train these guys up to create that the best ones will represent, that club, right? Like kind of like that. I think that's like the future for breaking. Yeah.
Definitely. I'm really loving to hear that, and especially for the event in October. Well, if I'm here in Europe, and definitely would love to be part and support in any way. And definitely,
Yes.
I love this conversation because this is what is missing, and we don't know how strong we are unless we talk and
Hmm.
see who's good in what and
Absolutely.
make a mix. I want to come back to the entrepreneurial part, and why do you think actually a lot of b-boys currently not able to become an entrepreneur? What can be like struggle? What can is it because they are based somewhere, or is it because they don't have the connection, or what do you think in your own opinion?
Well, actually, in my personal opinion, it doesn't really have anything to do with like they can't be, but it's more it's just like I said, like, well, from our generation, right? A lot of us are come from single parent households, right? So a lot of us didn't have our fathers there, so we're all starting from kind of ground zero, from like not really knowing much about entrepreneurship and business. Like I was a full out like growing up in Canada, I was like communist or something, like I was like I didn't think, I hated business, I hated money, I nothing I didn't like it. It was like, to me, that was evil. It was the root of all evil. And then after growing up and living outside of Canada, and I saw how the world works, you know what I mean? Like, and so I kind of like changed my mind in a lot of these things, and so I think that like with a lot of young men, since it is predominantly b boys, like more b boys. Even there's a lot of b girls now, right? But a lot of boys, we need a reason to change, to do something, right? Like if we don't really have, we don't have if we don't have a reason to do something, then we really don't really go for it. Because we're happy. We're very simple people, right? Like I just want to
Exactly.
break, I just want to have fun, I just want to like learn a new move, right? And
Yeah.
that's very normal. But then one day, you're gonna get married, and then one day you're gonna have kids. And once you hold your kids in your hand, your whole life is different, right? Like, like you're right. And every single thing you do, you have to think, am I doing this to help my kids? Is this going to help my kids? I have to justify spending my time on this, right? Being away from my kids. I have to actually justify it. Am I doing this for my kid, or am I not? And so this is the reason why, like, building a breaking business, where like a breaking club that's growing, that's can make like 30 to 50 grand a month, on like revenue. You know what I mean? You will be there every day, right? And you will love it. And you
Yeah.
will know that while you are there, either practicing, teaching, chilling, and making this club go really well,
So
right?
true.
It needs to go well. It needs to be great because your kid's future depends on it. You know what I mean? Right?
Yes. Yes. And
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 so I think that a lot of young guys, like, they don't really think about that now, right? Like, which is normal. But as time goes by, these young b-boys are going to start having to think about what they're going to do in the future, right? Like, and there's going to be guys who aren't going to think about it at all, which is fine. They're only going to want to be the best b-boy, b-girl in the world, which is also fine. But without some kind of business mentors or partnerships or ways to work together, without looking in that direction, we're going to make a lot of bad choices, right? And so we need to, like, really, some of us need to be like kind of like the father figures for a lot of the next generation of
correct.
superstars and everything, and we also need to start sharing with each other, right? Like, like if there's people, if I wish that like there were older b-boy, there are actually older b-boys that I really respect, that are a generation ahead of me, and when they pass down knowledge, I hold on to that tightly, right? Like
Yes.
whatever it is.
Of
And so
course.
we have to kind of do that as well for the next generation, whether we think that they might want it or not. If they're open and available to ask you, hey, what should I do? How can I keep my crew together? What do you think I should do? Like, you know, we have to be open with them about them, especially struggling with money and financials. Because, it's a lot of B-boys are very closed off. We don't want to talk about this, right? We don't want to say, oh, you know what, I'm broke, man. I've got no money. I need to win this
You're
jam. So
right.
we need to start having these conversations as men, like be men, whatever,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And
Yes. No, I fully
yeah,
agree with this, and I think this is the main, in my opinion, problem with becoming a breaking entrepreneur, because this
mhm,
world, making money or living from breaking, it's
mhm.
scary. People, it's not
Yes,
so, people think it's not sustainable or it's not there, but actually it's wrong because it's there, and a lot of other people are
yes,
making fortunes out of it. But we just need
yes,
to make that. It's so true. Like a lot of people,
yeah,
exactly, have a family, we have
that's
a kid.
right.
Oh, now I need to really start about, leaving breaking and have something income, while they're leaving that to other, platforms to take care of that and making money out
Yeah,
of it. And
yeah,
the Olympics again was a great example, and so many other
mhm,
things are examples as well.
mhm.
And what I think the shift of mentality should be that no, there's actually a way to make a living in breaking. You just
Yeah,
need to make it right and know how to make it, and ask the
yeah.
right people, and find a mentor, and just, make those steps. How do you think the culture will evolve in the future with becoming more entrepreneur, breaking entrepreneur?
Oh, I think, man, I only foresee an amazing future where there's going to be like, where it's going to be more in the hands of the culture, right? Where we're going to have like our own brands, right? Like as we get more conscious, and more conscious about how we spend our money, where what we support, what we're doing, like, like once we start understand, like our minds are opening more, it's gonna be a very quick change. It's gonna be very fast, and I think it's gonna go really well because now, like I said, there's more breaking clubs and breaking schools than ever before, right? And it's just these entrepreneurs, and they have this studio, and they're able to make a living, and they have these kids, right? And then from there we can start building it bigger and bigger. Like, so in the way I see it in the future is kind of like FIFA, like the FIFA, and like, where every city will have one or two big breaking clubs. You know what I mean? And within that breaking club, there's multiple jobs from social medias
Yes,
to
yes, that's exactly
everything. Yeah.
what's missing, because currently other people are doing that, not
Hmm.
involved in breaking, or not, while the people who are in the part are doing another jobs to make a living.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
bring them together.
So yeah, so Dream Runners has, like, like we employ 50 people, like, over 50 people, right? Well, actually 28 of them are full time, and the rest are kind of part time. But
Amazing.
they're like, like, it's great, right? Like, it's awesome that everyone has a different job, whether it's like operations, finance. So these b-boys, like, whoa, like, it's like they were just b-boys, and now they're like creating the systems and the standard operating procedures for their breaking clubs. They're creating their franchise models. They're creating the standard operating procedures for the systems for their social media. They're honing in each one of these things, and it's like amazing to see each one of them do that. And
Yeah.
they're making a good salary that their families are so proud of them. You know what I mean?
You're
Right?
right.
Like, and this is the dream. This is the dream. This is my dream for everyone, not just for dream runners, right? But for all crews to eventually get like this around the world. If everyone was like that, I think we'll be in a much better place for sure.
And what
Hmm.
kind of tips would you give if you have a person that you're the mentor and you want to give some tips to make that shift? What would you say?
For me, I would say, like really try to learn and understand you know business, like what business and entrepreneurship truly means, not just like on like the business, like, okay, finance and all these things, but in terms of like the ethics, that side of it, like um like, for example, not burning bridges. Like, no matter how if you feel like something, you were treated wrong, don't burn the bridge, right? Don't burn that bridge. Just say, okay, thank you very much, and just take that as that lesson, right? As a lesson, you know. Okay, maybe I can't really work with this guy like this. I'll try to talk to this person. But just because you can't work with that person doesn't mean you have to burn the bridge. You just say, thank you very much. It was good to work with you this one time. And then we'll see about next time. Always keep that door open to people, right? And then another one is yeah, so yeah, don't burn the bridge. Two is, like, is ownership, right? Like, ownership and control, right? Like, you don't need to always be like, you don't need to have for example, I have a shoe brand, but it's not I didn't get into this so that I can have my own brand. I just kind of did it to show people that it can be done, right? But it's more, but what we want to do is we want to start working with each other. Everyone is kind of trying to build their own thing and only have their own thing, but we don't need to be like that, right? We can, if there's something that you like, and there's a brand out there that you like, someone that you really want to work with, just reach out
Agree?
to them and see if you can make a deal, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, like, what would it take for this? Try to understand, problem solve, and say, okay, so for example, if I really liked, for example, um, let's just say men of leisure, right? Like men of leisure clothes.
Yeah.
I might reach out to them and say, hey, I really like your clothes. How can we maybe collaborate, and just try to talk to them, see if there's something you can do, right? If sometimes you have to make a buy-in to make a relationship with somebody that you really want to work with. What that means is say, okay, I want to show this person that I'm serious. So, Menno, I'm serious. So let me buy uh, 100 tracksuits or 20 tracksuits or 50 tracksuits as a test, and then to see if you can actually work with someone, right? Like, and see if you can develop a relationship. So, don't be shy to reach out to certain people for business. Obviously in breaking, it's a totally different story, right? Like, if you're like, reach out to someone, hey, can you teach me all your moves? They're going to be like, well, why would I teach you all my moves, right? But in business, if you're looking for a mentor or somebody to work with, um, it's you can always reach out to someone and see how that you can make some kind of deal. A lot of times that will take a showing, there's a buy-in, but whatever that could be. If I want, for example, I want to work with Flea Rock, maybe I'll buy a couple of his shirts and stuff like that. And if he doesn't acknowledge me for wearing his clothes and his shirts, right, then maybe it's not going to be good to work with together. But if he says, hey, you're rocking my shirt, That can be the buy-in to make that connection with people, right? And so sometimes you got to invest into little things to make connections with people. Same thing with reaching out to do, like, if you really like a certain event, just say I want to work with Cross One. you know I might reach out to him and say, hey, how can I hold a freestyle session in my area? What would that take? And then you work towards that goal, and then you make a relationship, and then you have a business relationship, right? But before you do that, you need to understand the rules of business about not burning bridges and being easy to work with, right? And so learning about that, what that's like, and it's similar with breaking, in the sense where breaking, you have to conduct yourself a certain way. There's certain rules of how you should be. Same thing with business, that has its rules too. So learn those rules, right? And you can really draw a lot of comparisons with breaking, right? It's just different, right? Like, and then, yeah, I would say to do those things. Reach out to people, talk to people, ask questions, right? That's the hardest thing for b-boys. A lot of b-boys don't like to ask questions, but just find people that you can talk to and ask. Yeah.
I'm really happy you're saying that, because literally this call today is like that. I wanted to make a
Yeah.
reach out to you, but let's be open to support each other. I think this is really important, especially for
Hmm.
two important parts. The new generation really need to, continue on the same path, not having like a big gap or of knowledge missing. And the second one is really making sure we are owning our art, our platform, our culture, because
Yeah.
we did it, basically some other people will do. So it's that simple.
Hmm.
um
Yeah.
what's next?
And another, and one more one more big thing too, I would say, is if when there's anything that's breaking business related, right? Like, if you want to, subscribe to that, do that, right? Like, for example, if we're gonna have the first Breaking Business conference, if you want to learn about business, go to the Breaking Business conference. The reason why we're making this, if someone else organizes a Breaking Business conference anywhere in the world, and they say this is what we're going to be learning, so imagine a Breaking Business conference in the future where they say, okay, we're going to have this conference where we're gonna we're gonna focus on different types of breaking hustles, right? So we're gonna have Flea Rock do a master workshop and class presentation on how to make a living from street shows, right? He's gonna reveal how much you can make, how you do it, how to start it,
Yeah.
how to
Yes.
and then he'll offer a deal. Maybe he'll say he'll make a pitch. Come stay with him in LA. You pay this amount, and he'll teach you the street hitting thing, lifestyle
Yeah.
or whatever, how to do it, and then you'll go back and then you can do it in your place. Like something like that. I think would be like. And then imagine there's another thing about like how to do theater shows, and then there's another thing about how
A
to
lot.
make a
There's
business.
so much. Yeah, there's so much that you can do, and we can
Yes.
do together. And definitely, it's something people should be aware and be part of, especially if you want to move to
Hmm.
this. So, nice to hear about the October event. What's next else for you? What people should know more coming soon for you?
Oh, I would say that, and there's a lot of, like, a lot of people say, like, the Olympics, there was a bit of a missed opportunity with the Olympics, but sometimes, like, these kind of things have to happen in order for us to kind of wake up and say, hey,
Sure.
it's time to make moves, right? So there are a lot of things that are coming up, right? And just keep your eyes open for all the different ideas that people are doing now. Everyone's trying something, right? And don't discount it right away, but look at what they're doing and try to make a decision of, like, because things are changing a lot in breaking, right? There's, like, WDSF hasn't gone anywhere. They're still organizing events, right? They're still doing things,
Yeah.
but there's other big players that are coming into the scene. There's other big players that are supposedly leaving, right? Which is kind of like, so it's a rapidly changing landscape. You know what I mean? So we have some big things coming up right now, right? I don't want to. I can't go too
Of
far
course, of
into it
course.
yet until everything is signed and ready to go. But I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start talking about it soon, and I
Nice.
really hope that the things that I'm doing, if people are down to join and they want to get in, then I'd be happy. Of course, I'm
Yes,
happy, right?
yes, absolutely. And I
Yeah.
definitely since we're talking about this, and especially for the business event, I'm proposing the next edition be in the Middle East. This part of the world needs attention, needs knowledge. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it.
Yeah.
It could be in Egypt
Great.
or Dubai or whatever. We can do
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. We'll do it. Oh man,
Right?
that'd be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever
100% down to do that.
actually to the Middle East before?
No, I've never been. Never
Never
been.
been like
No.
any country there. Oh my God, I would love to
No.
invite you to one of these, like
Yeah.
Egypt, or Qatar, or Saudi. Or thank you,
Yeah.
Daisy, for your time. It was really a pleasure. I love the conversation and the energy, and
Yeah.
I have to say it's an honor for me to be doing that. To really thank you for your time today, and also your you're very humble, always, easy to talk to. So I really appreciate your time, and we can definitely continue talking more and more, definitely. So
Awesome.
I'm
Yeah.
just
It's an honor. It's an honor for me too. And I'm like I said, I wish there's more people like you that are, and the fact that you can, just go get it. Like you just have to go for it, go get it. Don't be afraid to just, reach out, talk to people, build those networks and those connections, you know what I mean? And speak about your dreams. Sometimes it takes longer than you expect, right? But at least if you're talking with people about it and working towards that goal, one day you're gonna say, hey, I don't want to just keep talking about it, I'm gonna do it, right? And so yeah, I'm glad that you reached out, and I think that you'll continue to do really big things for the Middle East and for everything that you're working on.